Listen to the story, boys. When the Germans were, when they captured Poland, so the Germans were on one side and the Russians were on the other side. So all the Jews ended up in Vilna. He says, and this is Rabbi Galinsky, okay? I think he's in his 90s. He wanted to see Rav Chaim Ozer. Chaim Ozer was the Gadol Hador. So Rav Chizkiyo Yosef Meshkavosky, whatever, was getting people to get into to go to Rav Chaim Ozer to get a bracha. He says, I want you to know, he's writing on himself now, that I didn't sleep a whole night, and I sat and I learned Masechtas Yevamos, because when you go to Rosh Hashiva to get a bracha, you're always scared he's going to ask you, what are you learning? And when you tell him what you're learning, he's going to ask you questions on your learning. So Rabbi Galinsky was very worried that the Gadol is going to ask him what's he learning. So he was learning Yevamos. So he said, I just memorized Chamesh, Esrei, Nashim, B'toretz, T'ruz. He remembered the first Mishnah backwards and forwards because he was scared he was going to ask him. Anyway, he says there were 30 people waiting in front of him, and everybody had their problem, whatever it is. Anyway, finally he came to his turn, and he came, and he's standing in front of Rav Chaim Ozer. Okay? He's standing in front of Rav Chaim Ozer, and he's like, he knows that the first question he's going to ask him is, what are you learning? And the second question is going to be, what chidush do you have? What do you have something new? And the third one's going to be, what other chidushim do you have? Okay? So, he walks in, and the first question he says, when was the last time you got a letter from your parents? Was his first question. He said, a half a year. I haven't been able to, I didn't get any letters because they're stuck on the Russian side. He said, okay. The second question he says, do you have a blanket? He said he didn't ask him if he has a place to sleep. He says because we all didn't have a place to sleep. We all slept on the benches in the base medrash, but it was too cold to sleep without a blanket. If you didn't have a blanket, you couldn't sleep. So his first question was, when's the last time you heard from your parents? His second question was, do you have a blanket? And he said the third question was, can I see your shoes? Ef Shaliras is no lecha. He said I was embarrassed, but I didn't have a choice. So I pulled up my pants legs, and he saw that they were totally, the whole front was open, right? So right away he gave me money to buy a pair of shoes. And he said, my house is open to you for 24 hours. Anytime you want, you can come here. He said, instead of being laughing and being happy, I began to cry. I realized who I'm standing in front of. He didn't ask me questions about the Mishnah in Yevamos. He asked me about my tzaras, about my pain, what I'm going through. He said, that's a gadol in Yisrael.